In the heart of a once bustling city, now abandoned and silent, Daniel wandered through the decaying remnants of what used to be a lively neighborhood. The sky had darkened, and the crisp autumn air carried a sense of melancholy. His usual routine of scouring the ruins for useful items was interrupted when he heard a faint whimper from inside an old, crumbling building. Intrigued and concerned, he pushed open the creaky door and ventured inside. The building was a maze of dust-covered furniture and broken windows. As Daniel made his way through the debris, he spotted a small, shivering golden retriever curled up in a corner. The animal was scruffy, with matted fur and a fearful expression. Without hesitation, Daniel approached the stray, his heart softening at the sight of the vulnerable creature. "Hey there, little guy," Daniel said gently, extending his hand. The dog, though wary, allowed Daniel to pet him. Carefully, Daniel scooped the dog into his arms and carried him home. It was clear the animal needed care, and Daniel was determined to nurse him back to health. Over the next few weeks, Daniel's home became a haven for the dog, whom he named Baxter. He provided Baxter with food, warmth, and medical attention. Slowly, Baxter began to recover. His fur grew shinier, and his once lonely eyes sparkled with trust and affection. Daniel's life also changed as Baxter brought a new sense of purpose and companionship. One day, as Daniel and Baxter returned from a walk, the dog became unusually agitated when they passed the old building where Daniel had found him. Baxter pulled at his leash, barking frantically. Curious and concerned, Daniel followed Baxter back to the building. The dog led him inside and stopped near the back of the building, barking aggressively at a large cabinet against the wall. Intrigued, Daniel carefully moved the cabinet. Behind it, he discovered a small, hidden opening. The walls were lined with grime, and the air was thick with neglect. Daniel squeezed through the opening, with Baxter nervously following. They found themselves in a narrow, dimly lit hallway. As they progressed, Daniel heard muffled yelling echoing from somewhere ahead. Baxter growled and hesitated, refusing to go further. His anxiety was palpable, and he sat down, his body tense. Daniel, driven by concern and a sense of urgency, pressed on. At the end of the hallway, he encountered a door, its frame warped and jammed shut. With all his strength, he managed to force the door open. Inside, he found a woman in dire straits. She was bound by rope, her wrists raw and bleeding and blindfolded. Her breathing was ragged, and she trembled in fear. "Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you," Daniel said softly, trying to reassure her. The woman recoiled in fear, her voice cracking as she pleaded, "Please, don't hurt me." Daniel spoke calmly, explaining that he was there to help. Slowly, he approached her, pulling out a small pocket knife from his pocket. With careful precision, he cut through the rope binding her wrists. The woman, her eyes now filled with a mix of relief and terror, stood shakily. Baxter, who had been anxiously waiting, bounded up to her. She recognized the dog and, with tears streaming down her face, hugged Baxter tightly. "Baxter, you're alive," she cried, her voice choked with emotion. Baxter licked her face, wagging his tail. "Thank you," she said to Daniel, her voice filled with gratitude. "We need to get out of here." Daniel nodded, urgency in his voice. "Yes, we need to go quickly." They hurried out of the building, Daniel guiding the woman, who introduced herself as Sarah. Back at Daniel's home, he provided Sarah with clean clothes, a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt, and allowed her to take a much-needed shower.